Hey guys, and welcome back to Woodshop Junkies. As you can see, my shop is in quite a state, and I know many of you have been waiting to see how I transform my space, but unfortunately I'm still fine-tuning some of my ideas. So in the meantime, I figured I'd jump in on a gift I wanted to make for my brother for some time. You see, my brother enjoys reading, and he seems to have a particular liking for collecting books that have had movies based on them. One such series of books is his collection of Harry Potter books in hardback with woodcut covers by Andrew Davidson. Now, he claims he would like to preserve the books for when he has kids one day, so I figured I would like to offer him a more elegant alternative to the box he's got under his bed where he's kept the books in the 4 years since he's got them, by making a display case, and so at the very least give him the ability to admire the books through a sheet of glass. Now, when I was designing the case, I decided to go for a more simple, modern look, but I would still like to retain some, I guess you could call it, traditional touches. So I decided to assemble the case using box joints. I also want to place a light source inside the case to illuminate whatever's on display. In this case, the books, to hopefully create a more pleasant visual effect. But considering the case is going to be wall mount, I don't want wires running to it. So I need to find a way to power the lights with an onboard power source. But before I can start with that, I'm going to size up the boards, plane them down so I can start cutting the finger joints. Okay guys, so now that I have most of the components prepped, with the exception of the backboard and things like that I'll get to in a moment, I can start cutting the joints, and I'm going to do that using my router table and the jig I made a couple of months ago. Okay guys, so that's all the joints cut, and they fit quite nicely, with the exception of one that I made a bit of a mess up, but hopefully it's nothing that a little wood filler can't fix. So the next step is to use the router again to cut the slot for the backboard, and then also cut a slot for the LED lights that I want to install into the box. Okay guys, so the slot for the backboard on the short panel, the side panel of the box, is going to fall on the negative of the joint, so I can simply cut the slot all the way through. Now on the long board it's going to work a bit differently. I only want the slot to run to the depth of this slot, so that when the box is assembled, the slot on the long panel will stop at the depth of this slot. Now to do that, I'm going to mark with tape on the router bed to measure the length of my cut. So I really am not having the best luck today. I'm having a hard time finding anything in this mess. I really messed up the one joint, and now the router bit came loose and it cut a hole in this panel here. You can see it was gradually running deeper until it eventually came out the collet and cut right through the wood. And the worst part is I didn't get it on camera either. But I don't really want to give up on this project just yet, and I don't have any more of this wood, so I'm going to have to try and fix it. How, I don't know just yet, so I'm going to push forward with the project for now, and I'll worry about that at a later stage. That just has to be at the bottom. Okay, so the next step is to cut in a small recess into which I'm going to install the LED lights, and I'm cutting the recess because I don't really want the LED lights to be visible. And I'm going to do it in the same way I did before, with the tape on the router table, so I can see where the bit position is, because obviously I don't want to cut the slot all the way through. Okay guys, so now that I have all the slots and profiles cut into the wood, I am almost ready to assemble the box. I've got a slot here, or the recess in the front for the lights, with a slot that's going to the back for where the wire is going to run, and then obviously the slot for the backboard that runs right around. Then I also made this cutout, which I will explain in more detail when I do the wiring for the box. So I'm going to give it a quick sand down and then cut the backboard, and I can start assembling it. Okay guys, so this is the backboard. It's just a piece of plywood, thin plywood I sized up to fit in the back or in the slot when the box is assembled. I also made these little cutouts for the LED lights for the wires to pass through to the back, and then I'm going to use carpet glue to stick down this black material onto it like this. This is actually just the same material they use to cover speaker boxes in car audio. So yeah, I'm going to use carpet glue, stick this down, and the reason I went for this dark material or for the black is because the box covers are quite light and they're bright, and I'm hoping that the black will make it stand out a bit. Okay guys, so that's the backboard. I simply glued it around the edges there and trimmed the excess. So now I am finally ready to glue the box together. Okay guys, so that's pretty much it for the box for now. The next step is making the door. Now the door is pretty much going to be a piece of glass with a wooden frame, and the wooden frame I obviously want to make as thin or narrow as possible as to not obstruct the view of whatever's inside the box. Okay guys, so this is pretty much it for the frame. It's not as thin as it could potentially be, but I think this will work just fine. So before I glue it up, I just need to cut the step on the inside for the glass to fit in, and maybe just a profile around the inner edge. Okay guys, so that's the frame glued up. I glued it up using my DIY frame clamp, and it doesn't look too bad, but the joints unfortunately at this stage are not very strong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert these into the corners like that to make it a bit stronger. And to cut the slots on the corners, I'm going to use this jig I just slapped together now. And it doesn't look amazing, but it doesn't have to. It only has to work once for each corner. So now, before I get too carried away, I think I should focus on fixing this hole first. Now, I think most people would agree gluing in a dowel is the quickest and easiest solution, drilling it out and putting a dowel in. So I used my very limited lathe skills or turning skills and a lathe I had laying around the shop that I've probably never used to turn up a dowel. So now I'm going to drill it out, glue it in, saw it off and sand it flush. Now to drill out the hole, I'm going to use this fastener bit, but I probably should have done this before assembling the box, because now there's nothing in the middle for the pilot to prevent this bit from moving around and pretty much destroying the hole. So the only real solution I could think of now was to use a plank that I already drilled a hole in using this bit and clamp it over the hole like that. And hopefully then when I use my hand drill, this will prevent the bit from moving around. Now I'm also going to drill a hole, space it and drill it on this side, so having one dowel glued in here doesn't look out of place. Okay guys, so now everything is prepped. I can treat the wood and then assemble the box before jumping on the electrical component. Okay guys, so the case is very close to finish. All I need to do still is fit the glass and the French cleat here for mounting it to the wall. But before I do, I'm going to install the lights. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I don't want wires running to the case. I don't like visible wires. So instead of using normal 12 volt LED strips, I decided to use USB type LED strips, which you can buy pretty much anywhere. I'll drop a link below if you want to check it out, but these can be powered from a USB and they are most often used for TV backlights. Now the reason I went for USB type LEDs is because they can be powered from a power bank, which is cool because I can place this on board to power the LEDs. When it runs flat, I can take it out, charge it and put it back. But keep in mind that power banks do have lithium batteries, which in very extreme cases can explode. Now most modern power banks have overload and overcurrent protection, but obviously I can't guarantee that all of them do. So if you decide to mimic this project, you do so entirely at your own risk. So now this cutout should be making a bit more sense. This is where I'm going to put the power bank. So the power bank will be installed like that. The case will get a second base to elevate the books a bit so that when the door is closed, the bottom of the books will sit pretty much flush with the frame. When the power bank is depleted, it can be taken out, charged and simply be placed back to power the LEDs again. Okay, so now the glass is placed into the recess that was cut for it, and to fix it in place, I'm simply going to use these planks that I cut up on the table saw, cut the miters with the miter saw and drill these holes over here, and I will now fix it to the inside of the frame like that, just to keep the glass in place. And that's pretty much it for the case. Now I'm just going to cut up the base, the secondary base for the inside, and the French cleat, fit that, and then it's pretty much finished. Okay guys, so this is pretty much it for the secondary base. It's just a piece of wood I cut up and covered it with the same black material as I did on the back, and this will now just fit in place like that. I considered sticking it down but decided against it eventually. There's no reason that it needs to be stuck down. So now when the cabinet is closed, whatever you place inside the box will be raised and above the edge of the frame. Okay guys, so that's pretty much it for the case. I did have my doubts about using this plywood for the French cleat at the back to mount the cabinet to the wall or the case to the wall, but I'm hoping the fact that the load is distributed over the entire length means it will be alright. So, I'm going to take it inside now, put the books in and see what it looks like. Okay, now this is the wall. Okay guys, and that's it for this project. It was a first for me and I learned a lot, and that's the beauty of being a hobbyist. Every time I step into my small shop I learn something new. Now my brother really seems to like his gift, and hopefully this video would survive long enough that if he manages to keep these books for his kids one day, they would be able to look back at the video and the making of the case. But on a more serious note, I know the channel has been a bit slow since I have moved, but it finally seems that things are getting back on track, and hopefully I'll be back to normal very soon with my uploads and my projects in the shop. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did and you're not subscribed yet, remember to do so you don't miss out on our future videos or any of my future videos. And that's pretty much it. As always, thanks so much for watching. Till next time, cheers.